It's happening, and faster than most Americans realize. Behind the glossy political speeches and flashy GDP headlines, some U.S. states are teetering on the edge of fiscal collapse. In 2025, the warning lights are flashing red: empty rainy day funds, sky-high pension liabilities, multi-billion-dollar structural deficits, and tax hikes that still aren't enough to close the gaps. And make no mistake, some states are about to go broke. This isn't fear-mongering, it's math. From Wall Street credit warnings to budget office forecasts, the data paints a chilling picture. The next recession won't be national, it'll be local. And when it hits, these 10 states will be the first to fall. So if you live in one of these states, you need to ask yourself, how safe is your pension, your job, your healthcare? Because the fiscal cliff isn't coming, it's already crumbling under our feet. And what comes next will shock you. Number 10, Kentucky. Let's start with the state most likely to be crushed by its own promises. Kentucky's public pension system is just 46% funded, the worst ratio in the entire country. That means the state has less than half the money it needs to pay out future retirement benefits. And with $36 billion in unfunded liabilities, the gap is growing, not shrinking. The budget is only $43 billion. Meaning the pension hole is almost as large as the state's entire yearly income. But it gets worse. Kentucky's rainy day fund holds a pathetic 0.7% of expenditures, a financial joke in a year when even minor shocks could send the whole system into default territory. Fitch has already warned that without sweeping reforms, a credit rating downgrade is imminent. So why are lawmakers dragging their feet? Why are state employees still being promised benefits that may never be paid? Is Kentucky just broke or in denial about it? Number 9, Washington. Washington might seem wealthy on paper, but the numbers tell a different story. The state is now facing a $2.5 billion structural deficit by financial year 2026, largely due to a tech sector meltdown that's wiped out business and occupation and capital gains tax revenues. With Amazon and Microsoft slashing thousands of jobs, Washington's revenue engine is sputtering and fast. Compounding the crisis is a dangerous reserve shortfall. The state's rainy day fund is down to just 8.3% of general fund spending, far below what analysts say is needed to weather a mild recession, let alone a major downturn. And with progressive tax measures under legal fire, there's no obvious fix on the horizon. If the Silicon Valley of the North can't keep its books balanced, what hope is there for other states riding the tech boom? Is Washington the next California? Or something even worse? Number 8. Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania's economic wounds are deep and spreading. In 2025, the state is grappling with $60 billion in unfunded pension liabilities, one of the largest totals in the country. But even more alarming is a $3.3 billion Medicaid funding shortfall, a ticking time bomb caused by post-pandemic enrollment surges and shrinking federal support. Corporate tax receipts dropped 6% in early 2025, shrinking the revenue base just as social program costs explode. The state has been labeled as having a challenging short-term outlook by multiple financial watchdogs. And with minimal reserve buffers, there's no safety net. If the economy slows further, can Pennsylvania reverse this tailspin? Or will it be forced to cut healthcare and education just to stay solvent? Number 7, New York. Don't be fooled by New York skyscrapers and Wall Street shine. The Empire State is in serious fiscal danger. With $254 billion in unfunded pension liabilities and a rainy day fund that's just 1.2% of expenditures, New York is one of the least prepared states for financial shocks. What's more alarming? The state faces a $10 billion hole in its 2026 budget as temporary federal relief dries up. That's not a small cut, that's an existential crisis for core programs like education, transportation, and public safety. Even New York's massive tax base can't outrun these numbers. So how did it get this bad? And why are politicians still spending like nothing's wrong? Is New York heading for a fiscal reckoning? Number 6, Maryland. Maryland may look stable on the surface, but the cracks are widening fast. In FY 2025 alone, the state is expected to run a $1 billion cash flow deficit, projected to balloon to $5.9 billion by 2030 unless massive tax hikes or spending cuts are introduced. Here's the kicker: nearly 28% of Maryland's budget depends on federal grants. Once those pandemic-era lifelines expire, the state will be exposed and dangerously underfunded. With massive education reforms and climate initiatives still on the books, it's unclear how Maryland plans to pay for any of it. Is Maryland a model state, or a fiscal time bomb that's been hidden by temporary bailouts? Number 5. Colorado. Colorado's crisis isn't a dramatic explosion, it's a slow-motion collapse. The state is forecast to face a $1.8 billion structural deficit in financial year 2026, driven by revenue flattening and the return of Tabor refunds that force the state to give excess tax revenue back to residents. Despite a 20% surge in revenue from 2022-24, Colorado's reserves have slipped to just 9.7% of general fund spending, below the historical 12% safe zone. The state is now one of only 7 listed as least prepared to handle a 2025 economic downturn, according to Morningstar's Fiscal Stress Index. Can Colorado reform its outdated tax constraints before the money runs out? Or will it be another progressive state forced into austerity? Number 4. Massachusetts, home to Harvard and biotech booms, is hiding a grim fiscal truth. With the $20,200 taxpayer burden, the 4th highest in the nation, and $30 billion in unfunded pension liabilities, the Bay State is walking a fiscal tightrope. Its $48 billion general fund isn't enough to cover mounting costs without serious structural reforms. Moody's has already issued warnings about persistent structural deficits, and unless one-time funding infusions are repeated in FY 2026, the state could lose its prized credit standing. All while housing prices, utility costs, and taxes are making Massachusetts one of the most expensive places to live in the U.S. Is this the beginning of a blue state budget collapse? Or is Massachusetts just the next domino? Number 3. Illinois. Illinois has been in financial freefall for years, and 2025 might finally be the breaking point. With $140 billion in pension obligations, eating up 20% of annual revenue, the state has almost no flexibility to respond to an economic downturn. Its $22,600 per resident debt burden is among the highest in America. The state holds the worst Moody's rating in the country, and every interest rate hike increases the cost of borrowing just to stay afloat. Multiple tax hikes since 2022 have done little to plug the bleeding, and public frustration is boiling over. Why are Illinois politicians still promising benefits they clearly can't afford? Are we watching a slow-motion fiscal collapse in real time? Number 2. New Jersey. New Jersey is a case study in what happens when spending outpaces reality. The state's $21,300 per capita taxpayer burden is second only to Connecticut. Unfunded obligations have now hit $143 billion, and the general fund just $52 billion is no match. Since 2022, New Jersey has raised taxes 3 times, and yet it still can't dig out of the hole. Pension and healthcare obligations for retirees are growing faster than revenues, creating a pressure cooker that's already scorched small businesses and middle-class homeowners. At what point does this become a default scenario? Is New Jersey the next Puerto Rico, a state too indebted to function? Number 1. Connecticut. At the top of the list, and dangerously close to the edge, stands Connecticut. The state now carries a $29,400 taxpayer burden, the highest in the nation, thanks to decades of ignored pension promises and reckless borrowing. Its $60 billion in unfunded liabilities dwarfs its $25 billion annual budget, creating an unsustainable spiral. The state ended FY 2023 without enough reserves to meet its obligations. Every spending cap has already been activated. There are no more one-time fixes, no federal bailouts left. Connecticut's only options now are cut, tax, or crash. Is this the first state in modern history that could openly default? And what does it mean when the wealthiest zip codes in America exist inside the brokest state on the map? This isn't just about 10 states. It's a warning. America's financial crisis is going local. and most citizens have no idea how close their state is to going under. Pension promises are being broken, healthcare is getting gutted, and some states are just hoping you don't read the fine print. So the next time a politician tells you the budget is balanced, ask, at what cost? How long can we fake solvency before the system breaks? Because if Connecticut, Illinois, and New Jersey are already cracking, who's next? Subscribe for more hard-hitting breakdowns and comment below. Is your state next in line to go broke?